Hi, I'm Sean Gannett, and this is Minute Math, and today we're learning about function operations.
Minute Math, when you need help you use Minute Math.
We're given this problem right here. G of n is equal to n squared plus 4 plus 2n. H of n is equal to negative 3n plus 2, and we have to find g times h of 1. So what we want to first do is set up what is g times h of n. So let's go do that. We have g times h of n is multiplying these two functions here, g of n and h of n. So to do that, we can show it like this, g of n times h of n. And then let's go show, well, what they are. N squared plus 4 plus 2n is g of n, and h of n is at negative 3n plus 2. And again, that is our g times h of n here. So now, what I want to do is I'm going to actually simplify this first, okay, before I start plugging in the 1 that we have to find. So let's multiply it out. N squared times a negative 3n is a negative 3n to the third power. N squared times 2 is, well, plus a 2n squared. We can do the same thing with the 4. 4 times negative 3n is a negative 12n, and 4 times a 2 is an 8, and it's positive. Then we have 2n times a negative 3n, and that's a negative, well, 6n squared, and 2n times a 2 is a 4n. All right, so let's go simplify this. Okay, let's combine our like terms. Nothing is to the third power besides the first term, so we have negative 3n to the third here. Well, 2n squared and a minus 6n squared can be combined, and that's a minus 4n squared. Look at the single n's. We have negative 12n and a 4n, and that's going to be a minus 8n. And then lastly, we just have the 8 that comes down. So again, for consistency, this is g times h of n, g times h of n. So now I've just simplified it slightly here. And now I want to define what is g times h of 1. Okay? So in doing so, I'm going to plug 1 in for n here. So g times h of 1, this step here, we're plugging 1 in for n. So in doing that, negative 3 times 1 to the third power, and I like to substitute this in with just a parenthesis, minus 4 times 1 squared, minus 8 times 1 plus 8. Then from here, we need to simplify. So again, g times h of 1 is equal to, well, 1 to the third power, right? It's just 1 times a negative 3. 1 to the second power is 1. We have minus 4 here. And then 8 times 1 is 8 plus 8. We can add all this together. So g times h times 1, or of 1, sorry. Negative 3 minus 4 minus 8 plus 8 is a good old negative 7. And so after all this, our final answer here is negative 7. We're given this problem right here. F of x equals 4x minus 3, and g of x equals x to the third plus 2x, and we need to find f minus g of 4. Well, the first thing I want to do is we'll set up just what is f, that's a parenthesis here, but f minus g of just x. Well, what that's going to be is for their operations, f of x minus a g of x. Okay? So then from here, we want to substitute them in. So again, f minus g of x is equal to f of x, which is, well, 4x minus 3, subtracted x to the third plus 2x, which is g of x. Okay? Now we want to simplify this. So subtract here. Well, 4x minus 3 is really that. But when we're subtracting, we're going to subtract, make sure we distribute that minus sign to both parts here. So we have minus x to the third, and then plus, be careful here, minus a 2x, or plus a negative, however you prefer to see it. And so again, that is f minus g of x. All right? So now we're at a point I feel comfortable enough, we can go, well, solve this. Let's put a 4 in for x. We don't have to always simplify it all the way. F minus g here times 4 is equal to 4 times 4 minus 3 minus 4 to the third power minus 2 times 4. And notice every single time I substituted a 4 in for x, I put it in parentheses. Helps make sure I don't lose anything. So again, we now have f minus g of 4. We substituted 4 in. Let's go simplify. 4 times 4 is 16. We have a minus 3 here. And then 4 to the third power is 64. So we have minus the 64, and 2 times 4 is 8. So again, keep going down. F minus g of 4. And let's go add and subtract these up. 16 minus 3 minus 64 minus 8 comes out to be a negative 59. And so our final answer here is a negative 59. We're given this problem right here. H of x is equal to 3x plus 3, and g of x is equal to negative 4x plus 1, and we need to find h plus g of 10. Well, first thing I want to do is find what is h plus g of x. So to do that, I have my h plus g of x, and I'm going to add my two, well, equations. I'm going to add h of x here plus a g of x. So, labeling it out, h of x is 3x plus 3, and g of x is negative 4x plus 1. Okay? So now what I want to do is, well, combine them. So, let's keep this going. 3x plus 3 minus 4x plus 1 kind of makes it a little easier to see. Okay, and just kind of without the parentheses, we can combine them together if we want to. 3x minus 4x is a negative x here, and then 3 plus 1 is, well, 4. So again, that's h plus g of x. And now we are ripe and ready to put 10 in for x. So h plus g, instead of x, we're putting a 10. So a negative 10 in for x plus 4. Well, what is negative 10 plus x? Do you know it? Well, negative 10 plus x, plus 4, excuse me, is a negative 6. And so our final answer here is a negative 6. We're given this problem right here. G of a is equal to 3a plus 2. F of a is equal to 2a minus 4. And we need to find g over f of 3. Well, first thing I wanted to do is find g over f of a. So, division g over f of a is equal to, well, g of a over f of a. So simplifying that out, g over f of a here, g of a is 3a plus 2, and f of a is 2a minus 4. So now what I want to do is I'm going to put 3 in for a here. That's what we want to find, right? So g over f of 3, let's just substitute 3 in for a. 3 times 3 plus 2 over 2 times 3 minus 4. So now let's go simplify the numerator and denominator. 3 times 3 is a 9 plus 2, and 2 times 3 is a 6 minus 4. Let's keep labeling. It doesn't take too long to label. Let's do the next step, label. And let's simplify this. 9 plus 2 is 11, and 6 minus 4 is a 2. And so our final answer here is just 11 over 2. We're given this problem right here. G of x equals 2x minus 5. H of x equals 4x plus 5. And we need to find g of 3 minus h of 3. Well, first thing I want to do is, well, what's g of x minus h of x? And that's just taking our two equations here, g of x being 2x minus 5. And we want to subtract that by h of x, 4x plus 5. Okay? Now they ask us, what is g of 3 minus h of 3? So, if we have g of 3 minus h of 3, we're just plugging 3 in for x's. So to do that, we have 2 times, well, 3 in parentheses, minus 5, minus 4 times the 3 again, plus 5. We're just substituting 3 in for our x. And so now, let's solve this. 2 times 3 is a 6. We have 6 minus 5 here. And 4 times 3 is, well, 12. And don't forget the plus 5. Keep going down. 6 minus 5 is a 1. And 12 plus 5 is a 17. 1 minus 17 is a negative 16. And so our final answer here is just a negative 16. We're given this problem right here. G of a equals 2a minus 1. H of a equals 3a minus 3. And we want to find g times h of negative 4. Well, first thing I want to do is find what's g times h of a. So g times h of a here is, well, g of a times h of a. So now we can simplify that. What's g of a? Well, 2a minus 1. H of a is 3a minus 3. Okay? So now let's distribute this. 2a times a 3a is a 6a squared. 2a times a minus 3 is a minus 6a. Negative 1 times 3a is a negative 3a. And negative 1 times a negative 3 is a positive 3. So keep going, we can combine our like terms. Nothing goes with a squared, but minus 6a minus 3a is a minus 9a. And we have plus 3 here. And so this is our simplified g times h of a. But they ask us to find g times h of negative 4. So what we do is we take our g times h, and instead of a, we put a negative 4 in. And now we simplify, or we substitute negative 4 in for a. 6 times negative 4 squared minus 9 times negative 4 plus 3. Simplify where we can. We have negative 4 squared, which is a positive 16. And negative 9 times a negative 4 is a positive 36. And we have plus a 3. Keep going. 6 times 16 is a 96. Plus 36 comes down and plus a 3. And so now, lastly, we add them up. 96 plus 36 plus 3 is a 135. And so our final answer here is just 135. We're given this problem right here. G of t equals t squared plus 3, and h of t equals 4t minus 3, and we want to find g times h of negative 1. First thing I want to do is find g times h of t. And what that is equal to is, well, g of t times h of t. So now we want to simplify this, okay? G of t, we're substituting t squared plus 3 in. And we know h of t is 4t minus 3. Okay? And multiply this out, okay? T squared times a 4t is a 4t to the third, and then t squared times a negative 3 is a negative 3t squared. 3 times a 4t is a positive 12t, and 3 times the negative 3 is a negative 9. Okay, we now have our g times h of t. But they ask us to find g times h of negative 1. So to do that, g times h here times negative 1, we're going to substitute negative 1 in for our t values. So we have 4 times a negative 1 to the third, minus 3 times a negative 1 squared, plus 12 times a negative 1, minus 9. Then from here, we're going to simplify. Negative 1 to the third power is still a negative 1. Negative 1 squared is a positive 1. 12 times negative 1 is, well, a negative 12. And then we have a minus 9 here. Alright, keep going down. 4 times negative 1 is a negative 4. 3 times 1 is a 3, so we have a minus 3 here. Plus a negative 12 is like a minus 12, and then a minus 9. If we combine all this, negative 4 minus 3 minus 12 minus 9 comes out to be a negative 28. And so our final answer here is a negative 28. We're given this problem right here. G of n equals 3n plus 2, and f of n equals 2n squared plus 5. And we need to find g of f of 2. Well, first thing is, I'm going to deal with f of n. We know f of n, we just stated right here, is a 2n squared plus 5. So let's go find that f of 2. F of 2 now, we're going to plug 2 in for n. So we have 2 times 2 squared, lots of 2's, plus 5. Okay? Well, 2 squared is 4, so we have 2 times 4 here, plus 5. 2 times 4 is an 8, plus 5. And 8 plus 5 is that 13. And so f of 2 is equal to 13. Now let's try something here. F of 2 is equal to 13, and we need to find g of f of 2. Well, if f of 2 is 13, so instead of f of 2, let's put 13 in. So now we have g of 13. Okay? And g of n is 3n plus 2. So what we're going to do here is take that 3n plus 2, and instead of an n, I'm going to put that 13 in. So now we have 3 times 13 plus 2. 3 times 13 is a 39 plus 2. And then we have, well, 39 plus 2 is a 41. And so our final answer here is 41. We're given this problem right here. G of x is equal to negative x squared minus 1 minus 2x. F of x is equal to x plus 5. And we need to find g minus f of x. Well, what is g minus f of x? As g minus f of x here is equal to g of x minus f of x. So let's go substitute g of x, or negative x squared minus 1 minus 2x, in for that g of x. Negative x squared minus 1 minus 2x here. And we'll do the same thing with f of x being x plus 5. So now, let's simplify. Negative x squared minus 1 minus 2x. Distribute the minus sign to both parts here. Minus x, then a minus 5. So now we want to combine our like terms. Nothing squared, so we have negative x squared. And then I'm going to reorder here, do the x's next. Negative 2x minus x is a minus 3x. Then a negative 1 minus a 5 is a negative 6. And so our final answer here is actually just a negative x squared minus 3x minus 6. We're given this problem right here. F of x equals 3x minus 1, and g of x equals x squared minus x, and we need to find f over g of x. Well, what is f over g of x? Well, f over g of x is f of x over g of x. All right? And so we substitute now. What's f of x? They tell us it's 3x minus 1. And what's g of x now? X squared minus x. Not too bad. And that's actually it. We can't simplify this anymore, so this is actually a pretty quick one here. And so our final answer is just 3x minus 1 over x squared minus x. We're given this problem right here. G of a is equal to negative 3a minus 3, and f of a is equal to a squared plus 5, and we need to find g minus f of a. Well, what is g minus f of a? Well, g minus f of a is equal to g of a minus f of a. So now, well, what's g of a? Well, we were given that in the beginning. That's a negative 3a minus 3. F of a, again, we were given, is a squared plus 5. So now let's simplify this. Well, negative 3a minus 3 just comes down. But be careful with this minus sign. Remember, it's to the whole f of a. So we have a minus an a squared here, and then a minus a 5. So now, we want to combine, well, our like terms. There's not really many. Let's reorder this. Negative a squared can come first. Then, negative 3a comes down. There's nothing else with an a. And now we just have our numbers. Negative 3 minus 5 is a negative 8. And so our final answer here is just a negative a squared minus 3a minus 8. We're given this problem right here. H of t equals 2t plus 1. G of t is equal to 2t plus 2. And we need to find h minus g of t. Well, what is h minus g of t? H minus g of t is equal to h of t minus g of t. So now, what's h of t? Well, we were given that. H of t is a 2t plus 1. We're subtracting that to g of t, which we were given, and notice I'll put it in parentheses, 2t plus 2. Now, the point of the parentheses, it kind of lets us know what g of t is, but that subtraction sign will be crucial. So bring this down, we have 2t plus 1, and the minus sign gets distributed to both parts. Minus a 2t, and then minus 2. So now we have to combine our like terms. 2t minus a 2t is a 0, t. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. Well, do we need to write 0 times t? No. So we just bring down the negative 1, and our final answer here is just a negative 1. We're given this problem right here. F of x equals 2x to the third power minus 5x squared. G of x is equal to 2x minus 1. And we need to find f times g of x. Well, what is f times g of x? Well, f times g of x is really just f of x times g of x. So now what we want to do is, well, we know f of x is 2x to the third minus 5x squared. Let's plug it in. 2x to the third minus 5x squared. Same thing with g of x, which we know is 2x minus 1. Now we want to, well, FOIL. 2x to the third times 2x is a 4x to the fourth power. 2x to the third times a minus 1 is a minus 2x to the third. Keep on going. Negative 5x squared times 2x is a negative 10x squared, or x to the third, excuse me. Gotta know my rules here. And negative 5x squared times a negative 1 is, well, a positive, two negatives make a positive, 5x squared. Well, let's go combine our like terms here. Nothing else has the fourth power, so we leave that there, 4x to the fourth. Now the third power, I almost forgot it, but we got it here. We have negative 2x to the third and negative 10x to the third. That comes out to be a negative 12x to the third. And then we bring down the 5x squared. And this right here is our final answer, or f times g of x, which is equal to 4x to the fourth power minus 12x to the third plus 5x squared. We're given this problem right here. H of n is equal to 4n plus 5, and g of n is equal to 3n plus 4. And we need to find h minus g of n. Well, what is h minus g of n? H minus g of n is equal to h of n minus g of n. Well, we know what they are. We were given that in the beginning. H of n is 4n plus 5, so we plug that in. Subtraction here. Now we put it in parentheses, g of n, 3n plus 4. All right. Now this one's a little tricky. We gotta make sure we follow our order of operations. Bring it down, 4n plus 5 here. But the minus sign gets distributed to both parts in the parentheses. So we have a minus 3n, and then a minus 4. Now we have to combine our like terms. 4n minus 3n is a 1n. And 5 minus 4 is a positive 1. And so our final answer here is just an n plus 1. We're given this problem right here. G of a is equal to negative 3a squared minus a. H of a is equal to negative 2a minus 4. And we need to find g over h of a. Well, what is g over h of a? Well, that's equal to g of a over h of a. So we need to substitute what we know in. G of a was given to us, negative 3a squared minus a. And that's on top of h of a. h of a being a negative 2a minus 4. And at this point, we try to see if we can simplify it. But here's the trick, or the kicker. It can't. We have it pretty much in simplest form here, and so our final answer is just negative 3a squared minus a over negative 2a minus 4. We're given this problem right here. F of n is equal to 2n, g of n is equal to negative n minus 4, and we need to find f of g of n. Well, what is f of g of n? Well, f of g of n is the same thing as saying f of g of n. So this is what we have to do. We first take our g of n, our whole function, which is negative n minus 4, and we're going to plug that in for the n value of our function of f. So g of n is negative n minus 4 here. Then, so that's the whole function of g of n. What is f of n? Well, f of n is 2n, 2 times our n value. And what we're plugging in for n is right here, negative n minus 4. Now we have to simplify. 2 gets multiplied by negative n, so we have negative 2n. 2 times negative 4 is a negative 8. And so our final answer here is a negative 2n minus 8. We're given this problem right here. h of a is equal to 3a, g of a is equal to negative a to the third power minus 3, and we need to find h over g of a. Well, what is h over g of a? Well, that is equal to h of a over g of a, these two functions. Well, we're given h of a and g of a, so let's substitute that in. h of a is just, well, 3a. G of a, right here, is a negative a to the third minus 3. And this actually can't simplify anymore. And so our final answer here is just 3a over a negative a to the third power minus 3. We're given this problem right here. G of n is equal to 2n plus 3. H of n is equal to n minus 1. And we need to find g of h of n. Well, what is g of h of n? G of h of n. Well, that is equal to g of, written like this, h of n. So now we need to plug in h of n. h of n we know is n minus 1. So we have g of n minus 1. And now we're going to take that n minus 1 and plug it into our function g. So g is 2 times n, I'll put parentheses here around it, then plus 3. We can see that right here. But instead of n, we're putting our h of n, which is an n minus 1 here. Now we need to simplify. Distribute the 2, and we have 2n here, and 2 times a negative 1 is a negative 2, and then we have a plus of 3. Well, 2n here, combine our like terms. Negative 2 plus 3 is a positive 1. And so my final answer here is just 2n plus 1. We're given this problem right here. H of x equals x squared minus 2. G of x is equal to 4x plus 1. And we need to find h of g of x, or hog of x. Bad pun. So what is h of g of x? Well, you might see it like this, but sometimes it's a little easier to see it like this. H of g of x. And now it's pretty simple. We take our g of x right here, and we're going to plug it into that spot. So we have h of g of x, which we know is 4x plus 1. Not too difficult. Now, what's h of x? Well, h of x is x squared minus 2. So instead of x, I'm going to put in parentheses here. I'm going to square it and minus the 2. But instead of the x value, I'm putting our function g of x, 4x plus 1. Then from here, we need to, well, simplify. Okay? 4x plus 1 all squared. Well, that's 4x plus 1 times 4x plus 1, and then we have minus a 2. So let's go, well, FOIL this out. 4x times 4x is a 16x squared. 4x times 1 is a positive 4x. 1 times 4x is a positive 4x. And 1 times 1 is, well, 1. And then don't forget the minus 2 on the outside. So again, let's simplify this. Combine our like terms. 16x squared is really by itself, but 4x plus 4x is an 8x. And 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. And so our final answer here is just 16x squared plus 8x minus 1. We're given this problem right here. G of t is equal to 2t plus 5. F of t is equal to a negative t squared plus 5. And we need to find g plus f of t. Well, what is g plus sign, f of t? This is a plus sign here. Well, that's g of t plus f of t. And luckily, we were given g of t and f of t from the beginning. Plug in g of t, which is a 2t plus 5, plus f of t, which is a negative t squared plus 5. And now we just simplify. Well, we don't need parentheses here. 2t plus 5, because just plus sign, plus a negative t squared plus 5. Let's put our highest degree first. That's the square. Negative t squared here. Next highest degree is just the 2t. So we plus the 2t right there. Then we have a 5 and a 5 we add together. 5 plus 5 is 10. And so my final answer here is just a negative t squared plus 2t plus 10. We're given this problem right here. G of x is equal to 2x minus 2. F of x is equal to x squared plus 3x. And we need to find g of f of negative 2 plus x. Well, let's first find g of f of x. G of f of x, a little golf here, is g of f of x, like that. Well, we were given f of x, so it's pretty easy. We plug that in here. So instead of f of x, we put an x squared plus 3x. Then we're given g, so we take our function g, which is 2x minus 2. But instead of an x, I'm going to put parentheses here, and then minus a 2. I'm going to put what we have right here of x squared plus 3x, and for what that x value should be. Now let's simplify this a bit. 2 times x squared is 2x squared, and 2 times 3x is 6x. Then we subtract a 2 here. So far, so good. And again, this is our g of f of x. But we want to find g of f of negative 2 plus x. So what we're going to do, instead of, or wherever our x values are, we're going to plug in this negative 2 plus x in there. So we have 2 times a negative 2 plus x, all squared, plus 6 times a negative 2 plus x, instead of that x value, and then minus 2. And now we just simplify. Well, 2 times, remember, this whole thing squared is negative 2 plus x times itself, negative 2 plus x, plus, well, we can distribute the 6 across, so 6 times negative 2 is a negative 12, and 6 times x is, well, a 6x. And then we subtract a 2. So let's go multiply this part out. We FOIL it, so we have 2 here, times negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Negative 2 times x is a minus 2x. X times negative 2 is, again, negative 2x. And x times x is x squared. Then we have a, well, minus 12 and a minus 2 kind of can come together, which is a minus 14. And then don't forget the plus 6x here. I'll rearrange that here. Well, we can't forget to distribute this 2 to all parts, right? So 2 times 4 is an 8. 2 times a negative 2x is a negative 4x. And 2 times a negative 2x is a negative 4x again. And 2 times an x squared is a 2x squared. And I guess I could have combined these first, but it's okay, it works out. Then we plus a 6x and minus a 14 here. So now let's go combine our like terms, and let's reorder this. Let's deal with the x squared first. We only have one value that's x squared, and that's a 2x squared here. Then we want to add our negative 4x, and our positive 6x. And what does that come out to be? Well, negative 4x plus negative 4x is a negative 8x, plus 6x is a negative 2x. Not too bad. Then we have an 8 and a negative 14, and they come together to be a negative 6. And so after all of that, our final answer is 2x squared minus 2x minus 6. We're given this problem right here. G of a is equal to 2a plus 2. H of a is equal to negative 2a minus 5. And we need to find g of h of negative 4 plus a. Well, what is g of h of a first? Let's get that out of the way. G of h of a is equal to g of h of a, written like this. Well, we know what h of a is. It's given to us. So g of, instead of h of a, let's put our negative 2a minus 5 here. Now for our g of a. Well, our g function here is 2a plus 2. So instead of an a, I'm going to put parentheses here. So 2a plus 2. And where the a should be, I'm going to put this whole negative 2a minus 5 in there. So we have a negative 2a minus 5 right there. Let's simplify this. Again, this is our g of h of a. 2 times negative 2a is a negative 4a. 2 times a negative 5 is a negative 10. And well, we then have a plus 2. Let's keep this simplified. Negative 4a here, and negative 10 plus 2 is a negative 8. So our g of h of a is a negative 4a minus 8. But we want to find g of h of negative 4 plus a. So that g of h of negative 4 plus a is the same process of, instead of our a value, I'm putting parentheses here. So we have negative 4 parentheses minus 8, and I'll put negative 4 plus a in for where that a value was. Now let's simplify. Negative 4 times negative 4, positive 16. Negative 4 times a is a negative 4a. We minus an 8. Let's rearrange this and combine our like terms. Nothing goes with the a, so we put that first, negative 4a here. And 16 minus an 8 is a positive 8. And so our final answer here is negative 4a plus 8. I hope this video was helpful for you. And if it was, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this video. This helps us make more free math lessons for you and for everyone else. So as always, thanks for watching.
Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math.